Welcome to Rico 12. I'm Justin B., your host and a child of an all-powerful, perfectly loving God and an addict living in the miracle of recovery one day at a time. Rico 12 is an open to all addictions and afflictions organization dedicated to exploring the common threads of the differing manifestations of alcoholism, sharing tools, and offering hope from those walking a similar path. We gather from diverse backgrounds, faiths, and locations to learn and support one another. Our speakers come from various fellowships and experiences, demonstrating the universal principle of recovery. Rico 12 is not allied or affiliated with any specific 12-step fellowship. This is speaker meeting number 400. Thank you for joining us live or on the recording later. Today's speaker is Harvey E., who has spoken to us several times previously, including him being the very first speaker on Rico 12 in meeting number 1 over 5 years ago. I'm so grateful to have him back. He's talking today, and his talk today is entitled Maintaining Long-Term Sobriety, and I look forward to hearing more about this message in a few minutes. But first, a few quick announcements and items of business. Rico 12 offers a variety of recovery resources, including podcasts and social media communities. To explore more, visit rico12.com. That's RECO12.com, like Recovery 12 Step, or check the chat and show notes for links. We're still seeking some speakers for the 12-week series on each of the 12 steps that will be starting in the first week of February, going through the end of April. So if you or someone you know has something that your higher power is putting on your heart to share, a favorite step that you want to share about, please reach out to me at rico12pod@gmail.com and we'll get things lined up. Rico 12 is self-supporting, and your contributions help us continue this message. Thanks this week to Katharina and Sirada, as well as to our Patreons and an anonymous donor that came in through our podcast platform channel for your generous contributions to Rico 12. The information on how to do that will be in the chat and in the show notes of the podcast. And you can find more at the website rico12.com/support. Your support, both financially and by word of mouth, truly makes a difference in helping us share these messages of hope and recovery. Each week, we receive light and inspiration from our speakers. Their experience brings hope, meaning, worth, and growth to us as listeners. Now, I'm going to welcome today's guest speaker, Harvey E., and give just a little bit of background about him and then turn it over to him. Harvey is 71 years old, married to his wife Sharon for over 47 years. Don't tell Sharon I gave the wrong name. He has 5 married children and 20 grandchildren. He has been in SA since January 7th of 2014 and is gratefully sober since that day, which, by the way, is 12 years as of a couple of days ago. Harvey does not claim to live in Utopia, but he has learned to take things one day at a time. His hope is to retire from practicing dentistry in the next while and to move to a warmer client when he gets a sign from his higher power that it's time to do that. So, Harvey, take it away. The floor is yours.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Harvey E., and I am a grateful, recovered sexaholic. I just started using recovered, by the way. Big Book says recovered. I always said recovering, but I've changed it recently. A good person. I'm still a good person, worthy of recovery and a child of God. I would like to thank you, Justin, for inviting me to share my experience, strength, and hope with you today, and for the many times that you have. I can't believe I'm number 400. Wow, that's great. I pray that what I share with you and with everyone will resonate, and that you will find, all of you will find strength and hope in my message. I would like to dedicate this talk to all men and women in my life and in the world who have been impacted by this terrible disease of addiction. And I pray that they all stay long enough to experience the miracle of recovery. And I also like to begin my shares with a prayer known as a set-aside prayer. Together, let's all pray that we can do just that. Set aside all the things we think we know about ourselves, about whatever we call our God, and about others. Be honest with ourselves, willing to do the work, open-minded, and willing to be teachable. So here goes. Dear God, please set aside anything we think we know about ourselves, about our disease, about the Big Book, the 12 steps, the program, the fellowship, the people in the fellowship, and all spiritual terms, especially you, God, so that we may have an open mind and a new experience with all of these things. Please help us to see the truth. Amen. So, qualifying myself as an addict, I would just share that when I walked into my first sex addiction 12-step meeting, I was a very low bottom. Same sex attracted, seeing male escorts several times a day, pushing everyone I loved out of the way so that I could get to my appointment with lust. Every day I vowed to stop this behavior, and every day I fell again. My life was a tornado, and I lived in constant shame, except for the few fleeting moments when I decided to be God or at least his partner. So lately, I've been starting my talks with a little math. So here goes. Every day, there are three numbers. They change daily. The first number is today, 26,039. That's the number of days that this child of God has been in the world. The second number is 17,351. The number of days my wife Sharon and I have been married, and I did not mispronounce her name. Okay. And the last number is 4,385. And that's the number of days since I got sober. So for all of you mathematical geeks, the first number translates to 71 years and 103 days old. The second number says Sharon and I have been married 47 years and 184 days. And I've been sober just barely more than 1/6 of my life and a little more than a quarter of my marriage. So, is there a greater testimony to my wife and my Father in heaven's patience? I'm grateful for both. So, why are these numbers important? Today, they have become an important part of the foundations of my attitude of gratitude, which I believe is at the heart of my recovery. Let me explain. First, I just want to mention the physical support and well-being that I get from gratitude. And it's not just in a feel-good way. The effects, they tell us, show up through stress physiology, sleep, behavior, and even pain perception. Number one, stress hormones go down when you're grateful. 2, sleep improves. 3, pain is perceived as more manageable. 4, healthy behaviors get easier. And 5, immune function might even benefit. But far more important than the physical benefits, from the spiritual side of things, living in gratitude is the easiest and probably the most profound way we can keep our higher power front and center in our life. Expressing gratitude is really saying, thank you, God, isn't it? So gratitude has to be top of mind all the time. And during the recent holiday season, starting with Thanksgiving, we can focus on all of the special things in our lives and express gratitude for them. And this season, for me, always ends on January 7th, the day that I celebrate my sobriety and express gratitude for it, the miracles associated with it. So I accept the fact that life is better if you develop an attitude of gratitude. So what exactly does that mean, and how do we do it? So an attitude of gratitude means making it a habit to express thankfulness and appreciation in all parts of your life on a regular basis. And for me, that used to be, I have to admit, twice a day, 50 gratitudes. Now it's once a day. I do it before I go to bed. And I have to thank God for both the small and the big things alike. If you concentrate on what you have, you'll always have more. And if you concentrate on what you don't have, you'll never have enough. So here's a menu of tactics. Just you can pick a few to help develop this mindset. Number one, wake up every day and express to yourself what you're grateful for. 2, to tell whoever you're with at the end of the day the 3 things you are most grateful for. 3, tell whoever you are with right now, your significant other, your friend, your family member, etc., the 3 things that you are most grateful for in this moment. 4, start a gratitude journal. Express gratitude in this journal every night, like I do, by noting the things that you are grateful for, proud of, and excited about. I started doing this 12 years ago by journaling 50 gratitudes morning and night. 5, acknowledge yourself for what you have done and accomplished in the last day or week or month or year. Instead of comparing yourself to others, give yourself credit for the big and the small things you have been doing. And 6, acknowledge other people and thank them for inspiring, helping, and above all, supporting you. Oftentimes, people wait their whole lives to be acknowledged, and that too happens very infrequently. So, if the gratitude process is hard to get started, you could begin by asking yourself, what could I be grateful for? And see if the ideas start to flow. Every day won't be perfect, I can tell you that. But focusing on what we are grateful for tends to wash away feelings of anger and negativity. So try adopting some of those tactics I mentioned above, even just one or two, in order to develop an overall grateful mindset. It takes a bit of work, but having an attitude of gratitude is one of the most impactful habits for a fulfilling and healthy life. So, living one day at a time, as we know, gives me the opportunity to try to find the gratitude I'm feeling today, every day. So here I go. I'm Harvey, and I'm grateful for the men who share their lives and souls with me every day. I'm grateful for my Father in heaven, whose hand is so present in my life and our lives, and especially in the recovery rooms I frequent. I'm grateful for the renewed strength and energy I feel in recovery that I can use in a purposeful and meaningful life doing His will. And at this point, I want to share a poem titled Drinking from My Saucer, which some of you may have heard me do. It's written by John Paul Moore. So here goes. I've never made a fortune, and it's probably too late now. But I don't worry about that much. I'm happy anyhow. And as I go along life's way, I'm reaping better than I sowed. I'm drinking from my saucer because my cup has overflowed. I don't have a lot of riches, and sometimes the going's tough. But I've got loved ones around me, and that makes me rich enough. I thank God for His blessings and the miracles and the mercies He's bestowed. I'm drinking from my saucer because my cup has overflowed. I remember times when things went wrong. My faith wore somewhat thin. But all at once the dark clouds broke and the sun peeped through again. So God, help me not to gripe about the tough rows that I've hoed. I'm drinking from my saucer because my cup has overflowed. And if God gives me the strength and courage when the way grows steep and rough, I'll not ask for other blessings. I'm already blessed enough. And may I never be too busy to help others bear their loads. Then I'll keep drinking from my saucer because my cup has overflowed. So, what else have I added to my life in recovery that I want to share with you today? Steps 10, 11, and 12 are often referred to as the maintenance steps. So I want to share a little bit about them. That should hope will be useful and helpful. For me, step 10 is really living by the first 9 steps every day. For me, it includes a nightly inventory when I review my work that day, where I missed the mark, where I succeeded, where I paused before reacting to life. I consider if I need to do an amends to someone I harmed. And thankfully, with practice, I'm needing to do that much less because I really, really hate paperwork. I do daily sobriety renewals, a tool that is often done on a call with an accountability partner. We ask each other questions back and forth, reviewing the first 3 steps in the process. It helps me consciously remind myself that I'm still an addict, that I continue to be powerless and always will be over my addiction to lust. Then I renew my personal relationship with my higher power, who I call my Father in heaven. That's my step 2. That involves all the work I do in concretizing the love that He has always had for me and continues to have every day. And I often use a little process to help with this, and you guys can all do this with me if you like. If you're comfortable and you're not driving, close your eyes, take a few box breaths. I don't know if you know what a box breath is, but I'll describe it quickly for you. You breathe in slowly for 4 seconds. You hold your breath for 4 seconds. You breathe out for 4 seconds, and then you wait for 4 seconds. That's called a box breath. So if you want to do that now a few times, this is what I do. And after a few of those breaths, I try to visualize my God, my higher power. And I try to specifically notice how he appears to me. I check his face. Is he smiling at me? Is he smiling at you? Does he appear angry, upset, impatient, intolerant, disgusted, disappointed? I think we all know how those facial expressions look on someone we care about. Then we check the body language. Are his arms out with his palms up, inviting me in? Is he crouched down with his arms open, as if waiting for a child to run into his arms? Or are his arms folded in front of his chest with his head down, no eye contact? Is he turned away or walking away even? With the information we can glean from this little process, you might decide to do what's necessary. If things are good, we move to step 3. We can surrender. If not, we need to sit and ponder what's blocking us, what's blocking me from having that unconditionally loving connection. Sometimes it might be something very transitory, an overwhelming tsunami of difficult challenges in our lives that has made us wonder if we can really trust him. Or it might be a much more general problem that represents, as far as I can tell, a serious breach in step 2, which needs to be repaired before moving on. In my personal experience, I needed help to unblock my very dysfunctional relationship to my higher power. And I remember on first reading, I checked the box. I believe. Oh, sure, I believe. I certainly lived like I believed in God. I followed his commandments as best I could. I prayed to him daily 3 times. But did I really think he cared about me? That he loved me no matter what I had done or did? Not so much, eh? I can't resist quoting a religious leader, a visionary, a man that I respected and loved for his messages of hope and love, who recently left his earthly life. And I quote, "We cling tenaciously and never yield on what we do know. And what we do know is God is our Father. God is good. God is merciful. God is kind." End quote. The truth was, back then, I didn't trust him. And that was a direct result of living my childhood with parents I didn't trust. Here are a few warning questions I remember being asked, actually by a therapist. And I think about them still sometimes, but I remember thinking about them then, and they were really important. Number 1, he asked me, did you ever wish someone else, even a fictional character, was your mother or your father? Question 2, did you ever admire or turn to a relative or teacher in place of your parent? 3, did you feel depressed at a very young age? 4, did you ever think, I don't want to be like or marry someone like my mother or father? 5, did you ever feel there's no one you can turn to or even resist sharing your feelings or needs with a parent? 6, did you experience a sense of relief at a friend's house? 7, did you ever daydream about being adopted, rescued, or belonging somewhere else? 8, did you ever feel like you were an orphan? So back over 11 years ago, I found the God consciousness that I believe is so important to this program. And it took me finding my own self-worth. And that was the fruit of that precious find. Here's how that self-worth manifests in me and how I nurture it every day. as part of my maintenance of my recovery. I call these my 8 principles of self-worth because I know that self-worth starts not with looking inward, but looking upward. To truly love others, I've learned that I must begin by loving myself, not through ego, but through recognizing that I am a reflection of the divine. So, number 1, I remember who made me. Self-worth begins not with looking in the mirror, but with remembering who formed you. Beloved is man, for he was created in the image of God. Being created in God's image means your worth isn't earned or revoked. It's built into your very being. 2, I am a creation, not an accident. I was not an accident. God chose to create me. Out of all possible souls, the world needed mine. And Mark Twain has a famous saying that says there are 2 most important days in your life, the one you were born and the one you find out why. And I think that's particularly important right here. Number 3, I learned to love others as myself and myself as others. Most of us know that verse, love your neighbor as yourself, whether it's in Matthew or in Leviticus. It assumes that you already love yourself, something that once came naturally, I guess, like a baby who trusts that she matters simply because she exists, or he. But over time, self-criticism replaced innocence. We forgive others easily, yet struggle to forgive ourselves. Our sages taught, what is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow. We should also flip that. What is hateful to others, don't do to yourself. The way you treat yourself becomes the way you treat others. A harsh inner voice spills outward. Gentle self-understanding makes space for empathy. 4, I learned to understand that self-love is humility. It sounds paradoxical, but self-love, the real kind, the real grounded kind, is humility. It's not arrogance or indulgence. It's the quiet recognition that God didn't make a mistake when he made me. Accepting myself, flaws and all, honors the one who created me. As we understand, again, biblically, Moses was, we know from the Bible, it says that he was the humblest of men, and he didn't think less of himself. He understood that his gifts were from God. Humility means knowing who you are, divine potential wrapped in human imperfection. And in the rooms that I used to go to, there was always a big sign that said humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. 5, I learned to speak kindly, especially to myself. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, it says, and that includes the words you whisper to your own soul. If you wouldn't say it to someone you love, don't say it to yourself. Replace inner criticism with compassion. Talk to yourself like a friend who deserves kindness, because you do, because I do. 6, I celebrate progress, not perfection, as the big book says. God doesn't demand flawlessness. He asks for faithfulness. Every honest step toward growth matters. When you stumble, imagine your best friend did the same. Would you berate him or embrace him? Treat yourself with that same mercy. Compassion for yourself is an expression of faith, a way of saying, I trust that God is still working through me. 7, I learned to stop comparing and start contributing. Comparison is the thief of peace. And a great rabbinic sage, the Baal Shem Tov, taught that every person is a letter in God's Bible. If we erase even one letter, the entire Bible is incomplete. No one can replace your letter, your light, your purpose. Self-worth grows not from applause, but from alignment, living by your values quietly, consistently, and in integrity. That integrity becomes peace. Number 8, ground your worth in gratitude. And here we are, right back at the beginning where I started. Gratitude shifts your gaze from what's missing to what's miraculous. When you see your blessings, you remember you are one of them. So each day, take a moment to thank God for the simple gift of being alive, for your breath, your soul, your chance to bring light into the world. Gratitude turns self-acceptance into worship. When you look at a person, see their soul, not their struggle. And that includes you. That includes me. I am not my flaws or my fears. Beneath the noise is a pure spark of godliness, steady and whole. To love myself is to honor the one who made me. And when I love myself that way, not despite my imperfections, but through them, I make room to love others more deeply, more patiently, and more joyfully. Of course, this represents for me part of my 11th step. I meditate 3 times a day, just like taking my antibiotics. First thing in the morning, mid-afternoon, and then again as I fall asleep. For me, it clears my memory cache, kind of like a computer, of all my lust moments, of fears, etc. I don't suffer from terror dreams anymore or sexual dreams. And I think meditation has been the key to that. Step 12 has added such an amazing dimension to my life. I have friends and sponsees all over the globe from all walks of life and all denominations. Sponsorship helps me stay sober in so many ways. I get to review my own work, my own steps as a guide, as I guide someone else through them. I get out of my sick head. I do God's will in service of his children. I get to see God's hand in my sponsees' lives vicariously as they find him. And I get to practice the principles of being a human being, of being compassionate, caring, loving, understanding, non-judgmental. I learn to be a good listener, really listening. I have found that my Father in heaven has given me an endless capacity to love, something I never thought possible. And I still go to meetings to meet newcomers, to be reminded of the gift of desperation that I still need to hold on to, and to contribute to the gift of hope that we need to find in the fellowship. So after 12 years, is recovery a burden? For me, it's a miracle. It's a gift. It's a newfound freedom and joy. I thought I'd finish with the words to a hymn that really speaks to me. I hope they speak to you as much. Abide with me when daylight fades, when evening shadows fall, when strength grows weak and courage wanes. Be near me through it all. I lift my eyes beyond my fears. My heart rests in your care. For every hour, for all my days, I need you always there. Abide with me in quiet tears when answers seem so far. When hope is dim and faith feels small, you are my morning star. No other voice can calm my soul. No other love remains. You are my peace, my steady truth, unchanged through joy and pain. Abide with me, O faithful Lord, my refuge and my stay. Through darkest night and rising dawn, be with me on my way. I ask no gold, I seek no crown, no gift the world can give. Your present, Lord, is all I need, by which my soul shall live. Abide with me when trials come, when storms surround my way. When fear is loud and faith is tried, be strength I cannot say. You hold my life within your hands. You guard my final breath. From first light born to final rest in life, in hope, in death. Where can I go apart from you? Who else could make me whole? You are the anchor of my heart, the keeper of my soul. What you have begun in love, you surely will complete. So I will trust my days to you and bow before your feet. Abide with me, O gracious Lord, till faith is turned to sight. When earthly shadows pass away and hope becomes my light. Through endless days, through endless joy, forever I will be. My God, my strength, my dwelling place. Abide forever with me. Abide with me. So I'm Harvey E. from Toronto, a grateful recovered sexaholic, a good person worthy of recovering, a child of God. And I pass. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you so much, Harvey. I am so grateful that you were willing to come speak to us today. I've written down a lot of questions. We've got at least one question in from our live audience so far. A reminder to our live audience, If you do have a question for Harvey, please type it in the chat. If you'd like to remain anonymous, either send me a direct message or put anonymous, please. Without the anonymity, I'll just read your first name when I read the question. But let's get to these questions. Harvey, you know, you spend a lot of time talking about gratitude and the importance of gratitude in your recovery and maintaining that mindset. I've been in places in my life where it is really, really hard to see things that I'm grateful for because all I see is hardships and things that I can't see gratitude for. How do you focus? How do you maintain gratitude in those moments when things seem to be crashing in around you? Got questions about addiction, recovery, or just life in general? Let's noodle it out together. Grab your big book, a pen, a highlighter, and a notepad, and join Nikki M and me, Justin B, on Rico 12 Noodle It Out with Nikki M. Each episode, we take real-life questions, ours, yours, and those from the recovery community, and dig deep into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous to find real, practical solutions. So, if you're ready to do the work and apply the solution, tune in to Noodle It Out with Nikki M, streaming now on your favorite podcast platform.
Yeah, good question. Thank you. So, part of the reframing and the paradigm shift that I had to find was appreciating that God is not a sadistic human, like a sadistic man or for a person that I know. And so there must be something inherently important for me in the challenges that I experience because he's my coach. He is trying to make me into the best version of myself every day. So I've learned to accept challenges as just that. I am a trainer. I'm an athlete in training. And everything that's happening to me, I have to be able to reframe as, what am I supposed to be learning from this? What kind of a gift is this? Because it has to be a gift, because it has to be something that I'm meant to become better through. And I can go back into my life, and my life was not an easy one. I had to find all the lessons, at least the lessons, and sometimes even the gifts that I could find in my somehow ridiculously dysfunctional and crazy life. And so I've been able to do that. And that's helped me to appreciate that on a day-to-day basis, that's still happening. And that's going to happen till the last breath that I take. So I think that's how I do it.
Thank you for sharing that, Harvey. Love how you walked through that. Our next question comes from an anonymous member of our live audience here. This person asks, how did you get over the shame that comes with being a sex/love addict? It seems like some addictions are cool, yet others are seen differently. So how did you get over that shame, Harvey?
Yeah, well, that's a real good question. So some of you may or may not know some of my story, but as I said right from the beginning, I'm same-sex attracted, which does not really fit into my religious denomination at all. So there's a lot of built-in shame in that, and sex addiction alone is shameful enough. I needed to use step two. Step two tells me that I have intrinsic self-worth. So it doesn't matter what I might have been doing or have continued to do or still be trying not to do or whatever. It is not me. It is something I do, but it does not mean that that's who I am. I don't define myself as the addict, although we come to meetings and we say I'm Harvey, I'm a sex addict. I don't say I'm a sex offender, although I did get charged and found guilty 40 years after I did some behaviors back when. So I've had plenty of community crap. It still continues on a day-to-day basis sometimes. And sometimes I have to close my eyes and I have to think, and I have to bring God into myself, into my thoughts, and remind myself that I am defined by my relationship to my higher power, to my God, and not by anyone or anything else. And I'm not going to tell you that it's an easy process. It's gotten a lot easier. Thank God.
Mm. Yeah, and I've lived a pretty similar experience of coming to grips with, hey, I'm a sex addict living in the miracle of one day at a time recovery, and it initially carried a lot of shame, a lot of weight in my life, but now I can look at it and say, like one of the promises, the ninth step promises, my past has become one of my greatest assets. I no longer want to shut the door on it
Right.
because it helps me be an instrument, an asset to others who are out there struggling with similar things. So good,
And,
good.
and we may or may not have heard of the concept of toxic shame, but I can tell you that toxic shame is a killer. And that's why this is so important, because if I'm living in toxic shame, I'm in big trouble. Shame and blame are the Siamese twins. So as soon as I get into shame, I'm going to start blaming, and I'm going to start blaming myself or God or certainly others. And I have a wife, she's probably number one up there somewhere. And, but I can blame everybody, Oof, it's crazy. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you.
You mentioned your wife there, and I gave her the wrong name earlier, but I'm grateful for her. I don't know her, but I know of her, and I'm grateful for her influence and everything. But this question comes in from Mike from our live audience. Mike says, "How do I regain trust when I've done so much lying to my wife of 30 years?" I mean, you can identify with that very well. So how?
Oh boy. Yes. So I lied to my wife when we got married. I did not tell her about my same-sex attraction. And 35 years later, she was she discovered it, or she was helped to discover it by my children, who had figured it out by watching computer traces of me looking for male prostitutes when I visited them on their computers. It was pretty ugly. So yeah, it was 35 years. It's now 47 years. We've been at it for 14, give or take 14 years. It was actually, I guess it was 33 years ago. Anyway, yeah. So the one thing I can tell you is you cannot tell anyone to trust you. That doesn't work. I'd love to be able to say words work, but really, when it comes to trust, words do not work. Living amends is the way I would suggest you work through that. I needed to show my wife that I wasn't that man anymore, that I never wanted to be that man again. I'm not perfect. I could fall. I could have fallen. Thank God I haven't fallen in terms of my sobriety. I certainly have fallen in terms of some of my recovery stuff. I still, even now, can lose my tempers at times when I'm provoked, when I'm triggered. So I'm not perfect. And there are many women out there, I'm sad to say, that think that recovery equals sainthood or angelhood or something, and I don't think that's real or realistic. But I do believe that when you walk into the house every day and say hello and how was your day, and you start being the giver that you really were meant to be, rather than the taker, which is really what I was. Um, it doesn't it shouldn't, I hope, take long for it to make a difference. I think the timeline is always going to be, up to that person, and whether that person has her own issues, so his own issues around religious scrupulosity. There are a lot of people who think that until you come crawling on your knees with blood, coming down from your eyes, and stigmata in your hand, or you're never going to get forgiven. I know people like that, and for some of those people, you may never get to the place where you could ever be trusted again, and their forgiveness can happen. And forgiveness is a continuum. It's not a light on, light off kind of switch. Forget that idea too. It comes, it goes, it deepens hopefully with time, but yeah. So I think that 30 years, I know what that feels like, and but I also know that people heal, people can heal, and women, men, women, people, betrayed spouses often need their own work. I think they all need their own work, to be honest. Trauma work, whatever that is, because I traumatized my wife. There's no question about it.
Hey, Spearheads, if you're looking to dive deeper into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous with people who live the solution, then you won't want to miss RICO 12 Big Book Roundtable. Join David G., Nikki M., and me, the moderator Justin B., 3 recovered addicts from multiple fellowships, as we break down the big book line by line. In each 30-minute episode, we share our experience, strength, and hope in a real, raw, and practical roundtable discussion. So, if you are ready to learn and apply what you learn, tune in to RICO 12 Big Book Roundtable on your favorite podcast platform. Yeah, thank you for going through that. And I echo pretty much everything you just shared, because I've seen the same thing in my own life, in my own marriage, and there is hope, but it does take work on all parts. So, all right, next question comes from Bill from our live audience. Bill says, how did you achieve the transition between wanting to be in control and handing over to God with trust?
Oh, wow. Good question, Bill. You sure not Bill W? Bill J, huh? Okay. Uh, yeah. As an addict, I think as many addicts, I don't know a single addict that wasn't a control freak, manipulating person who wanted to control the situation because I could go into the inner child stuff, which really isn't probably an outside issue, but I do believe the inner side, the inner little boy in me, needed to control because he was in so much fear. So I think that the key to learning that you don't have to control, you don't have to live by self-reliance, and that we weren't meant to live in self-reliance, is appreciating that that God does love me. God does care about me. That God is doing everything in my life, that everything that's happening to me has a purpose, which is ultimately for the good. And once I get to that place, we describe often people here, talk about letting God drive the bus, sitting in the back seat, enjoying the ride, let God drive the bus. And I think we all start in what we would call spiritual kindergarten, if that, maybe nursery, crib, I'm not sure, but wherever. And we, as people in spiritual kindergarten, we need to appreciate that we need to trust God to drive, And at this point in my life, 12 years in, I'm pretty happy sitting in the back seat and enjoying the ride and watching the view and appreciating that it's not the destination, it's the journey that's important. I've learned all that. That's really good. But I have to admit, I'm an honest guy. Every so often, I lean over the front seat of the truck or the bus and I check the GPS. Where the hell are you taking me, God? I'm still that guy, And then at night I'll go over that and I'll say, "Holy shit! Oh, sorry, I blew it." I took over the driving again. I'm not perfect. Nobody is, I don't think. But I think what helps is appreciating that I did it, that I can still go there, because deep down inside, it's an old habit. It's really an old habit. So it takes a lot to work on, but I'm getting better, and I think the appreciation that I'm not perfect and that I have done that today is really important.
Yeah, good stuff, Harvey. I got another couple of questions from our live audience. This first one I'm going to go to goes back to the trust question. And this is from Dave. And Dave says, I have a question about the dynamic between you and your wife and kids. At what point were you able to not feel as if anything that goes wrong in their lives was not your fault? What are your thoughts on that, Harvey?
Well, um, I don't think that's interesting. I'm gonna take umbrage with the whole concept. I don't think I ever have to get to a place where I don't appreciate that I'm responsible and that that a lot of what they're experiencing is a consequence of my behavior. Years into recovery, I sat down with my children to do a second and even third amends because as I got further into recovery, new crap popped up. I started to realize that my children's inability to appreciate what it's like to be married and what it's like to be connected to another person and how they're supposed to behave, because my wife and I never did that in a healthy way. I owed them an amends for that. And am I going to say that I'm not responsible for that? I certainly was. That's a consequence of me, of my inability to be intimate with in a real way with my wife, to appreciate who she was and what she was, except for being in the way often. And that's certainly not true today. And it's an ongoing process. My children have, in some cases, done more and less work in terms of their own trauma, their own damage that they've had. Some of them are better than others. I love them as children. Thank God I have a relationship with all of my children. Not everybody can say that. It's sometimes really hard. Um, and so I'm grateful every day that I can be there, and I certainly step up every day, and I certainly don't deny or don't want to admit or even I recognize my part in this, and again I can do that without falling into depression and sadness, and shame, which is where I used to go. I can appreciate that what I did and how I lived has impacted them, and that doesn't define who I am today. It might define where they're at today, and that's not a contradiction.
No, that's deep, and that's good insight. I really appreciate it. It gives me something to think about in my own relationships with my family, and where I can possibly make more amends with them and deeper amends. Got a couple more anonymous questions here, Harvey. I'm going to ask them one at a time. We'll just do them one after the other. But first one is, how do you build a healthy relationship with sexuality and partners in recovery? Does it come naturally with the process of working the steps?
All right, good question. Boy, these are good questions. I don't know where you get these crowd. Uh, so, uh, yeah, it says in the big book, I think it's page 69. And I'm right. In this way, it says, we try to shape a sane and sound ideal for our future sex life. We subjected each relation to this test. Was it selfish or not? And yeah, I think that the process addictions in general are much more difficult for us than alcohol or drugs, because as many of us know here in this room, I can live my whole life without ever taking a drop of alcohol, or ever smoking, some pot or doing other drugs. I cannot, and I wasn't meant to live without sexuality. I think, from creation in our world, in my religious denomination, it's clearly that we were meant to be sexual. Sexuality is a part of us. The same way that being productive and doing good work is part of our spiritual life, not to become a workaholic and not to be perfect and looking for perfection. That's not okay. But we were meant to work. So workaholism is an obsession of something that's natural. Lust is an obsession of something that's natural. Sexuality is natural. Gambling is an extension, is an obsession of taking risks, which we're all meant to do. When we use these things in an obsessive way, we become addicts to them, and so those process addictions are difficult. So sexuality is something that is, to me, something I need to, like food. Oh my gosh, can you imagine stopping eating? You got to eat, right? If you're in a food addiction place, which I'm a little bit, it requires us to be able to eat without the obsession of eating, without the comfort food thing, without, escaping through food, which is what I can do sometimes. So yeah, sexuality is meant to be something that is an opportunity, like many other things that I can do in an intimacy attempt in the work I do, to become intimate, to become connected to my partner. And we pray together, which we never did. And we invite our God into the room when we are intimate. We're only intimate when we both are in a good place. We don't use it as an escape. We don't use it when we're angry. We don't use it when we're bored. We don't use it for any of the things that maybe I used to do. Yeah, it's become something that we use to grow together, to glue our relationship together, to get stronger in. It's again, it's I'm not going to pretend that this is easy, even though it sounds like I'm saying this is easy. This is not easy. It's work, and but the fruits are amazing. I think men in general. I hope that I'm not going to do anything bad here, but I do believe that men and women have different roles, and I think men are the givers and women are the receivers. They take, in the most simplest terms, they take the package of genetics of DNA that a man gives, and they build on it and they fashion it and they work on it for 9 months and deliver a child. And and that's just the beginning of what a relationship can be, in the most fundamental physical way. So I think that's the work.
Hmm. Good stuff. Thanks, Harvey. Next anonymous question. And this is something that you introduced me to some concepts on this. So maybe you'll go in that direction, maybe you'll go in a different direction. But the question is, can you speak a bit more on building your relationship with your higher power? How long did it take? What helped you along the way to get closer and get over the past?
Yeah. Okay. So when I got into program, as I said in our talk today, God was a sadistic, angry, punishing being, that by the time I got into the program had basically given up on me. I was the warden of my own prison. He had little or nothing. He couldn't even be bothered to punish me anymore. I was punishing myself. So I had a process that worked for me. Might work for any one of us here. I was told that I should do an advert. I should, write down, I want to hire God. And again, I don't want to be blasphemous, but hire a new process, a new person, a new relationship with God. I'm not dumping my God of my understanding, Heavenly Father, whatever you call Allah, whatever he might be for us. I didn't dump him. I just found a new relationship with him, and I needed to hire a new relationship. So I did an advert like you would do in a paper. If you're looking for a secretary, a good, a man Friday or something, or a butler. What is he going to be? So I started from simple things. What would I want God to be if I could have anything I wanted? And as many of my sponsees have often said, the very first thing they say is, I want a God who listens. I wonder why that is. I have a sense that many of us grew up in homes where we weren't listened to and we didn't feel valued. We were ignored. We were told to go to our room. If you want to cry, I'll give you a reason to cry. Emotions were not acceptable. So it's not surprising that the very first thing that people say is, I want a God that listens. I want a God that understands me even when I don't speak. How amazing is that? I want a God who cherishes me. I want a God who is the president of my fan club. Nobody loves me more than him. And he's so excited, just like a little boy learning how to ride a bike and his father behind him. He holds him and he secures him and he makes him feel balanced, and then he pushes him off. And that child goes down the street with the bike, and the father realizes, I haven't taught him how to stop. And he runs after him. And what is he doing? He's screaming out, Joey, Harvey, Justin, Dave, you're riding a bike. wow, you're riding a bike. Look at that. It's amazing. You're riding a bike. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. Can you imagine a God like that? Wow. You know, so I hired him. And then I hired the coach, as I spoke before. He's my coach. He sits in the corner and he waits for me with a bottle of water and the sponge to wipe my blood off, and when the bell rings and and he's giving me positive ideas, and he's cheering me on, and he's encouraging me, and he's telling me that I did a really good job here and there. And yeah, those are really, really amazing things. And you learn to really love this situation. I can't tell you, this has changed my life.
And that process has changed my life too. So I appreciate you going into that. Harvey, one more question before we wrap this up. And this one's a deep one, I think. So let's get to it. This is from Nikitas. How did you rebuild your relationship with your kids over the years? Did they ever refrain from any communication with you for a long length of time? And how was that reconciled when pointing fingers is common dialogue? Hey, Rico 12 Spearheads. If our recovery resources have helped you, please consider a donation. Your financial support, as well as your word of mouth support, keeps Rico 12 running and reaching the man who is still sick. Donate today at rico12.com/support or check the show notes for PayPal and Venmo links. Every contribution helps carry the message. Thanks for being a Rico 12 Spearhead.
Well, so I'm going to share something that's happening right now in my life. Nikita, I love you. Uh, I know this is painful. I have an oldest daughter who's got a daughter what we call the market, right? She's 19 years old and she wants to get married. And in the Orthodox Jewish world, people make referrals and recommend your daughter to people they know who have a son, and you're looking for somebody to offer you a suggestion, and your daughter can be sitting there in the house for many, many months and nobody calls, and that's pretty ugly. And especially when your father is, a convicted sex offender like me, she's worried. On my granddaughter's resume, it says, my daughter's name and her parents' name in Toronto. And all they have to do is pick up the phone and call, oh, it's somebody in Toronto. Do you know Harvey or, Harvey? And they'll go, oh, yeah, he's a sex offender. And, my daughter is struggling with that right now because I guess, because she might not be where we all would like to be in terms of trust. And she doesn't really know that yet, that when the time is right with the right guy, they won't make that call. Or if they make the call, they'll call somebody in Toronto who really knows who I am and isn't interested in sharing that crap. And she'll find, the right guy, and that will come, God willing, in the right time. So, but right now, it's a strain on my relationship with my daughter. She would rather me not visit her right now because when I go into synagogue, everybody recognizes me. I'm Harvey, Devorah's father from Toronto. And we all know what he's about, and it's a little sad, but, that's life. And on a personal level, she loves me. She called me. I spoke to her this morning. I prayed, I blessed her for the Sabbath coming up. And I say, I love her. She says, I love you. And, but right now, the way situation is, not visiting New Jersey right this minute. I'm not going. We're going to go visit Orlando together in February to visit together. So in a place outside of home. Is that hard? Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I'm not going to say it's not hard. And this comes and goes. And thankfully, I'm going to share one more thing. One of the very first things that ever happened to me was the first Yom Kippur. We have Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement. And before Yom Kippur starts, we know we're supposed to do the amends with people because God can only forgive us. men have to forgive us if we did something to them. We have to get a personal forgiveness from people. So I called each of my children that year and I said, look, I know I've really screwed up your life. I want to offer amends. I want you to, can you forgive me? And one of my daughters said, I'm working on it. And all my other children just said, oh yeah, dad. Oh yeah, dad. And I said, and that one hurt the most. I have to admit, that was tough, but it was the most honest. It was the most honest. And we both work on it. And she's come a long way. I've come a long way, and I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Harvey. Appreciate that. We're going to wrap up here. Thank you all for the amazing questions and for being here. Thank you to our listening audience who will listen afterwards. We're grateful for your listenership. If we've missed your question or you'd like to ask something else, please join our WhatsApp community, put it in there, and we as a community can answer it. Harvey, I can get it forwarded to Harvey if he's not in there to do that. And we'll do that. If Harvey, are you okay if people reach out to me if they want to connect with you and I can get them connected to you?
I'm going to do better than that. I'm going to put my phone number in right now.
Okay. So
Can
Harvey's
they see
phone
that?
number's in the live chat.
Oh,
Let's see if they can see that.
can people see it?
Nope.
Yes,
Nope.
can see my phone number?
Oh,
Yeah,
on your
Nikki
name.
said
Yep,
my number,
there it
not
is.
my name.
There it is.
Okay, good.
Okay, so it's by his name. His phone number's there. If you're in the listening audience who is not here live, send me an email at rico12pod@gmail.com and I can get you connected with Harvey that way.
For sure.
If you haven't already done so, please rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It's a powerful way to work step 12 and share recovery with others. Come back next week for another Q&A and speaker. We're excited about moving forward. Once again, starting the first week of February, we're going to be doing a 12-week series on each of the 12 steps. So if you would like to speak on one of those, I've got a handful of them already spoken for. But if you out there want to speak on one, send me an email. We'll get you lined up. And let's get out of here. Let's launch off with, I'm going to do the 7th step prayer and get us rolling out of here with the 7th step prayer. I'll do the we version. Our Creator, we are now willing that you should have all of us, good and bad. We pray that you now relieve us of the we pray that you now remove from us every single defect of character which stands in the way of our usefulness to you and our fellows. Grant us strength as we go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. All right, everybody.
All right.
Amen.
Thank you for being here. There is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find God now. Keep coming back, and when you do, come all the way in. Sit all the way down. Let's trudge this road of happy destiny. Work it. You are worth it.
Standing still a moment, carving out this time, reflecting on the landscape of this life of mine. Too high to conquer, streams too wide to cross, troughs too deep to walk through without incurring loss. Yet here I am, still standing tall, despite the rough terrain. One like me survived the storms and walked through wind and rain. Standing, I will fight the good fight, still searching for glimmers of light, feet still on the ground, I can still be found, standing still.
My wings are torn and tattered, but I know I still can fly. I may not soar unfettered, I may not rise too high.
Recorded in the book of life and bind it with the seal that